Hey, what's up? Hey, is this a chess stream? What's up, guys? Chess is the art which expresses the science of logic. Okay, what's up? I'm just finishing my nutritious fruit-based. Did you hear about the new vegan diet? Vegan. Did you guys hear about the new vegan diet? Eat 3 vegans, feel great. 3 vegans a day. Juicebox Wizard. Fortuna Chess Coach. I try not to eat on the stream, and I don't like people that eat at the chessboard either. Eating is very personal and intimate to me, but once in a while, we gotta just, not starve. Okay. Intimate eating environment. I should start an intimate eating stream. That's maybe like a good stream title, Intimate Eating with International Master. Fortuna Chess Coach, here early and often. Also a streamer, so check him out. The Chess Kid 1 says hello. Juicebox Wizard. Astrobate, I am back. So we're back to a regularly scheduled program, which is basically 6 streams a week, every day but Saturday. Saturday's my off day. Saturday's my poker day. Melted Reese's Cups. Okay. We've got... Where's my study? You guys can't see the games in the study, right? It's not showing. It's funny how that works. Just fruit fly. Get out of here, fruit fly. Riddler, Schumacher, Astrobate, and Mule Skinner. Did I forget anyone? Riddler has no game. Riddler sent me a game and I got an empty blank. I think I just put his name in there because to remind myself. No need for the shout-outs. Well, I mean, no, I'm not one to do too much for the shout-outs. Fine, then. Don't watch his stream. Anyway, what am I doing? Riddler game. Riddler is a relatively new follower, subscriber. So I'm just back from the World Senior Championship where we narrowly missed a medal, sort of. It's nice to think. Sounds good to say that, but in reality, I wasn't that close. It was just a theoretical possibility. But the one thing I really took away from this was that playing chess, long games, where you have a proper environment to play is very good for your chess. I'm getting better. I'm getting back into form if I play a number of serious games in a row in a relatively short amount of time. I got better pretty quickly after 11 rounds of slow chess. I'm playing maybe stronger than I ever did, but my time management I'm very slow, so time has been a problem. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about me. Today is our analysis stream, and I might actually have to throw in one of my own games, though, out of desperation. I'm a modest person, and I don't like to showcase my own stuff. Riddler, Schumacher, Astrobate, and Mule Skinner. Is there anyone else who I forgot Well, thanks, Fortuna Chess Coach. What I have in knowledge, I make up for in like slow clock management. But I noticed like the Grand Chess Tour or whatever it is, Grand Chess. What was it? Grand Swiss. They have 3 time controls in that tournament. That's pretty good. I would like to play in a 3 time control tournament. That's actually decent. Okay, let's check this Riddler guy. I'm going to start analyzing games here with the Riddler submission, but I have to find it. Seems like they changed something. Okay, inbox, Riddler. Just Riddler, okay. Hi, Will. More Kraken-inspired stuff. So he had it in a study. I'm not sure which game he wanted me to, which chapter he wanted me to go over here. Number 1? Is this Kraken-inspired? No. I don't know if it's Kraken-inspired. This is Kraken-inspired? Not really. Anything here Kraken-inspired. That's just a position. This is, what is this? This is also a position. Well, anyway. What's chapter 1? Well, we'll take a look at chapter 1. Let's see how can I copy this. All right, copy PGN. No, download, clone, study. I don't want to copy. Let's download. There we go. All right. Show in folder. Oh my god, I never do this. Okay, here. Open with Notepad. Oh my god, that's a lot of PGN. Here we go. This is Chess Riddler, the Riddler. Copy. And now we can go to my study. And we add a new chapter, or we just modify this one. Wait. Why can't I like add clear annotations? Huh. Why can't I like modify this? Why can't I add a PGN in there? I'm just gonna have to delete chapter. All right. Paste. Okay. All right. Whatever. So this is Nedog. What's up, man? Nice to see you. Nice to see you. The Netog. I know this is a game that Chess Riddler sent me. So he's black. I don't understand how this is Kraken inspired, but C5. This is a very combative move against D4, and then the only move that matters here is D5. This is the quote-unquote problem with C5, D5. If white doesn't play D5, you're in good shape. C3 is cringy, and E3 is okay. Other than that, D5 is the only good move. Knight C3 is some kind of dunst opening. Knight F3 isn't great. You get a lot of people who do this. London system players who don't know what they're doing. Now white is playing the Marshall defense with an extra tempo. I mean, it's okay. You have an extra tempo. That's good. But it's still not great. I mean, like, white lost all of his opening advantage, basically, in 2 moves. Essentially. White's so if White's careful, he can be like equal here, probably. But that's the maximum, you know? So, we're destroying pawn. Destroy the center. E3 is a better move than knight f3. D5 is the best move. C3 is like equal. But after pawn takes pawn, you know, one thing that White can do here, and I'm not a big fan, as you know. We're not big fans of the Smith Gambit and the chicken suit and all that stuff. But theoretically, White could play c3 here, and it's not that stupid. It's oddly enough, you know. At the end of the day, I wonder, in all honesty, is it possible that c3 is actually better than knight takes d4? The computer probably will come up with some kind of really weird-ass move. Like, okay, c3, I don't know, queen a5 you could play. It's a theme in the c3 Sicilian as well. I doubt this is great for black, and as I say, queen a5 is almost always bad. But, you know, in most cases, black is going to have to take this. And now we have more gambit in reverse. How bad can it be for White? Linderman, who played the Mora Gambit as a kid. Kailash Gabor, famous for playing, of course, one h4, who I never met. If I have to explain to you how this is a Mora Gambit in reverse, I don't understand. Like, but White's gonna, you know, he's gonna play e4 here. There's no way to stop him from playing e4, bro. I mean, this is like impossible to prevent. You know, what are you gonna do? F5 or something? I mean, all right, dude. Yeah, whatever. Okay, it's a Mora Gambit. Yeah, it's not in reverse, sorry. You get the point, though. It's a Mora Gambit. There's no way to prevent e4. So I think this might actually be it's still nothing for White, though. You know, it's like either way it's equal. After knight takes e4, black's best move is... Alright, dude, I'm going to have to time you out if you keep asking questions. d5... Too much energy drink there. d5, best move, controlling like c4 and e4. This is far more tactical. I'm not so convinced this is good as d4. Positionally speaking, this is black's best move. You're preventing like both of these pawn breaks, and you have a strong pawn in the center, so theoretically black is better here. It's a Marshall. This is in reverse. This is really in reverse. This is... Dude, I don't need people like questioning every word I say. Like, okay, I misspoke. You know, give me a break with that mad quick chess. Like, seriously. All right. d5, e5 is dynamic, but I think like even that you should probably hold off on. What I would recommend now is playing knight f6 and then Acerbate's favorite trap, bishop f4, e5. Get the London players, you know, get the London players to fall into this trap with bishop takes e5, queen a5 check. Nothing wrong with knight f6 though. Actually, I lied. There is something wrong with knight f6. It allows c4. Alright. That's why d5 is the best move. I mean, you're discouraging both e4 and c4. But it's also not the most dynamic. There's nothing wrong with like knight c6 except for, again, we're in transposed symmetrical English. Here's the problem, right, with d5. White has one chance in this position. I'm going to turn off the opening book so we don't cheat, you know. The only chance is c4. So he has to destroy this pawn. And now what opening is it? I have no clue. I mean, it could be like a Queen's Gambit accepted or something. You know, I'm thinking this is Queen's Gambit accepted. We're going to kind of Queen's Gambit accepted territory here. Queen's Gambit accepted reverse. You know, your favorite confusing topic. Queen's Gambit accepted in reverse. Black can take, and that's like... Well, I know it looks like it's not reversed, but I'm going to confuse you all. You know, it's the Queen's Gambit accepted in reverse. Reversed. It's reverse Queen's Gambit accepted in reverse. Reversed. No, but whatever. I mean, I think c4 is White's best try. And then if e5, it gets very sharp. Again, now knight... If we want to be like Frank Marshall, we play knight f3. And this is actually a Marshall, like, defense in reverse. But anyways, that is not what happened in this game. Okay, I think that Black's best move fundamentally is d5. White is probably equal. Let me turn on the engine. 0.0. c4 is the only move that equalizes for White here. Just to go back, let's just check the Mora Gambit in reverse. No, the Mora Gambit is 0.2. Let's see. The Mora Gambit is 0.1 worse for White, 0.2. Depth 45. 0.3. So that's pretty bad, but you know, 0.2, 0.1, I don't know. The Mora Gambit sucks, obviously. And it's a stupid opening, but it has its purposes. I'm not a supporter of that, but anyway, it's a waste of the white pieces. So it looks like White's best move there. Okay, whatever. C takes d4, knight takes d4, e5, sharper move. And now it turns out that the guy, wow, he found the best move here with knight b5, and we're in Twilight Zone now. So e5 was like too aggressive. Okay, there's a fine line. You know, we could maybe transpose to an English after knight f6, c4, d5. That's what I would do. You should probably consider knight f6. If knight f6, c4, d5, play the gambit, you know, pawn takes pawn. This is a common line of the symmetrical English, and it's actually very, very, very sharp. And nobody ever takes my advice and playing this for Black. I don't understand why, but they're all. No one wants to sacrifice a pawn. Oh my God, it's a very dangerous line. If Acerbate should play it, you know, various people from the stream should play it. So this guy finds knight b5. Any other move, and he's got nothing. By the way. Knight f3 is nothing. e4 equal. Knight b3 is passive. Probably equal. Knight b5 gives White a small edge. If you play d5, you have queen d5. Welcome to, you know, the Forkville, right? That's the point. So, I was thinking knight f6. What about this, though? You know? This is my question. Is this a problem? This has nothing to do with the Kraken, but it is an interesting opening to look at. What's up, all? We're analyzing a submitted game here from one of the subscribers, the Chess Riddler. Well, and we have to take it. Obviously, king e7 would be a little extreme. Okay, anything's possible. Maybe if you really want to, like, you know, play the bomb cloud or whatever. I'm not into that. So takes. Fortuna Chess Coach, thanks, man, for joining us. Nice to have. No, it's nice to have some serious viewers and people who wanna really improve and work on their chess. I like to joke around and tell stories and have fun as much as the next person, but my main goal is to, like, improve and help other people improve. Queen takes d6, knight c6. It's kind of like a Lowenthal. Well, it's very like a Lowenthal, actually. Interesting. So what happened? He plays a6. I mean, well, this is very like a Lowenthal as well, but I can't imagine that a6 is the best move for black here. a6 is not a constructive move. Now, clearly you can play d6 in the spirit of the Kalashnikov or whatever. You can't play d5, but you can play d6. Chess is great until, you know, someone loses an eye. Obviously. Or someone skins you. That's been the theme this week. Yeah, so you've got options. I mean, d6, a more constructive move, preventing knight d6. Knight f6, a more constructive move, developing. a6, hard to argue that that's a constructive move. Have you read blah, 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 blah by Sadler Regan? Oh, I didn't realize he's actually a couple years younger. Well, I mean, I don't know if he'll want to play in the World Senior, man. The guy was like, you know, 26. Okay, Michael Adams played, but Adams was invited. You know, it's not really an interesting tournament for 2,600 plus. Sub 2,600. I have the feeling Matthew Sadler isn't going to be playing in the World Senior, but who knows? He's also not playing in the English, like, senior team, so I don't think he's going to be playing in the individual. But he must be like 49. I haven't read it. I know that they talk about, you know, whatever, AI, chess computing and stuff. Interestingly, Natasha Regan did play for the women's. She did play for the women's team. She's around my age. All right, a6. Bad move, not constructive, but I mean, you got to go here. Why would white not play knight d6? You need a reason not to play knight to c6 check. This is a tremendously strong move. So this is like justifying a6. I would call it. While it's not a terrible move, it's not a terrible move. Okay, you control d5. Okay. You don't trade pieces. I think to some degree it may justify a6. Here, I mean, I'm more interested in I don't know about knight c6. I mean, you're going to have to develop it at some point. But I'm not that concerned about, like, the d4 square or my queenside development as much as getting my kingside pieces out. It seems like Chess Riddler should probably play some kind of move that positively develops the king side. So probably knight f6, obviously. Threatening d5, you know, we get d5 and we're better. You know, I'm not exactly sure what white's supposed to play now, to be honest. This actually looks pretty good. Well, Terry Chapman was pretty impressive, but he totally melted down, sadly. Yeah, there's a stamina element to these tournaments, and I think you start to see it very strongly. Alright, so he does look in good shape for his age, though. But I mean, having money helps to stay in good shape, just saying. Alright, I know he's well-to-do, so it obviously helps if you're like a millionaire in terms of like keeping yourself in good shape. It's a little easier. If I was a millionaire, I would be a grandmaster. Just saying. Now, I wouldn't have paid for the title. No, I don't cheat. If I was independently wealthy, I would have been able to become a grandmaster by now. Okay, but seriously, I don't like knight c6, g3. The d5 square is a horror show here. We got nothing with d5. If you play knight f6, I don't know what white's supposed to do. You know, what is he supposed to play now? Can someone suggest something? I mean, obviously, like bishop g5, BFD. You know, I already kind of like black's position. e4, bishop c5. I mean here, probably bishop e7. I feel like white lost his opening advantage, but you didn't take advantage. You didn't play it. You played knight c6, and now he's still better here, and then this. But there's a huge hole in our d5. Now I'm not so sure what black's supposed to do. See, now it's a problem because at this point he really could play bishop g5, for example. I was wondering if black should consider maybe putting the knight on a different square, but I guess knight e4 is too strong. So it's not clear what black should do now. Maybe d6 or something? I don't know. Okay, maybe knight f6 isn't so bad. But I was wondering about bishop g5. He doesn't have that because of bishop f2 check. Okay. So knight f6 here. And now he's theoretically threatening bishop g5. So you played h6. Okay, this is a good move. And now white needs to sort out what exactly he's doing. That he got bottled up with those knights, you know. Taking buys, the seniors. Oh boy. John Curto passed away. He was a great expert on taking buys as a senior. He was an American chess player, but probably knew more about playing as a senior than all those guys combined. FIDE master from Massachusetts, but he was IM strength. One of the best players in New England for 40 years. He had a very long chess career. He had a 60-year chess career. He would plot strategically when to take buys, you know, in the 55th year of his chess career, when to avoid the grandmasters in which round, and it's just ridiculous, dude. He died this year or last year? He died last year. At age 75, he was still carefully calculating when to take a buy to avoid playing, the top players and stuff. Okay, h6, knight d2. He lived a long life. He was 90. Knight d2, and we don't have this because of knight b3. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Maybe black rushed the thing here with d5. I don't know. You could make a prophylactic move. Bishop a7. I mean, this is an issue, though, isn't it? No, this isn't going right. This is not right. We can't play bishop a7. This is pretty problematic. I mean, this and this. What is black supposed to do now? I would be concerned. I would probably be like bailing out with something like d6 and figuring out whether or not I could afford to give you my dark square bishop for a knight or something. I don't remember if Curto died early this year or late last year. Nedog. It all like blurs into one slowly. So knight d2, d5, and now what about knight b3? Complimentary chair at the airport. Are you talking about my next fundraiser for the stream? Asterbate Nedug is the chair, man. Alright? Don't take his thunder. Steal his thunder. Can someone explain to me what's going on here? We have bishop d4. Oh, that's a wonderful move. What else are you going to do, man? I mean, you got to do what you got to do. I guess bishop d4. Strange position. Looks like black is okay, you know. He's got analysis on this line. Look at this. Knight b3, bishop d4, knight d5, knight d5, c3, knight takes c3, b takes c3, bishop takes c3, bishop a3, queen d1, rook d1. You know, so it looks like white has an initiative for the pawn here. But black's kind of hanging in there. So knight takes d5, here, here, and then basically the same thing, the same premise. Both our pieces are hanging, but we can stick our bishop in the way. It's essentially like a transposition. We stick our bishop in the way, so material should be like balancing out. He has to play c3 to get the piece back. c3 or e3. e3 is also possible. Looking to buy a vowel. Buy a vowel, Nedog. Yeah, I mean, it's really one of the most life-changing purchases that you do make in life. I had Tron video game when I was a kid, man. I was not that into it. Tron was kind of a fail, you know. They thought that would be a big deal. Don't distract me from the task at hand. No chair discussions today. So takes here, takes we transpose. Whoa. Why wouldn't white like exchange on d8? Why should he? Good point. Yeah, it's a tough call, and white could exchange queens. Maybe black would take with a knight and retain the right to castle. Okay, this is still... We're not that happy to lose the open file, and then a5, okay. a5 is very, very logical. White now, will interfere with his ability to prevent us from castling. I would evaluate this position as compensation. White has compensation for the sacrificed pawn. Both sides have made some minor inaccuracies, but still like a reasonably decent game. And then suddenly, you have a problem. So we have this move, bishop b4. White's going to be threatening rook takes c6. This is the problem. Very tactical. We have bishop b4 attacking the bishop. So if rook c6, bishop takes a3. If bishop takes b4, What's the point? We take with a knight, and we save ourselves from that tactic. Now, white has better development. So he's definitely not worse, even though he's down a pawn. Open c-file. The question is, white seriously better or not, I think. You know, I don't know what the best move is here without turning on the engine for sure, but knight takes a5 is pretty logical. Wait. Yeah, I mean, it seems pretty logical. It's not like some kind of grave threat, though, you know? It's basically just getting his pawn back. In fact, his a2 pawn is hanging as well. White has to be very precise here. I don't know. Should he play a3, maybe kick your knight back? I mean, I don't want to lose the a pawn, you know, on a2. Another thing is, like, if white wants to win, let's say white wants to win, how is, like, white winning this game without an a pawn, you know? How? You know, he's going to have to win somehow. Is there going to be enough pieces on the board? Man, there's knight a6, rook c8, bishop takes b7. It's still not enough. Knight a6. There's tactics, but I think you have to play here. Again, like rook takes c6. Actually, check this out. Check, takes, check. King e7, bishop takes a8, bishop e6. Knight is hanging. Draw. It changes everything. The whole tactic doesn't work anymore because the bishop is hitting knight on b3. It's a very tactical game. Like, it's nothing but tactics, pure tactics. Now castles and it kind of peters out. I mean, now it's just kind of simplified and all the pawns are on the same side. This should be a draw. Now, I mean, if I'm black here, I think I'm content to offer a draw. I equalized. Though I'm not a big fan of knight a6. You could theoretically lose this to Aronian or something like bishop versus knight, bishop on d5, but I mean, you know, he's still probably not winning without a queenside pawn. But I'd rather not play knight a6. Why not knight c2 to try to go to d4? I mean, maybe you don't like this. You feel like you'll get stuck. So by playing knight a6, we have knight c7. We're back in the fold. Okay, and it's a draw. The computer here gives white only a nominal advantage. Hey, that was an interesting game from Chess Riddler. What's the denouement, really? Well, what's our conclusion about this game? Like, c5, okay. d5 is the bomb. Am I going over some games of mine? I don't know. If I have to. If there's enough donations. If I have to or if I'm bribed, you know. One or the other. Is it okay to drink Corona extra from a glass? Or is that like a faux pas? I mean, beer should really be poured into a glass. So it breathes a little bit. Nedog says it's fine. Nedog's Mexican. My only Mexican viewer. Mexican American. American. So anyway, the conclusion is that e5 is a little over the top, and I wouldn't recommend it. You should play d5. Or alternatively, knight f6, trying to get the London system players to fall into the e5 trap. And don't forget the queen a5 is always bad. Okay, that's the conclusion. Next game is Schumacher versus Xerox. Xerox reappeared from the distant past, some kind of time travel. And I've been wondering what happened to Xerox. Xerox, Swedish player. We don't know his exact identity, but our other Swedish player dropped off. We don't know where he went. Maybe it's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but Xerox seems stronger. Xerox plays a lot of blitz, like bullet and blitz and fast blitz. You made your contribution. Contribution? Really? You gifted a tier 1 sub to the community. I love it when you guys gift subs to people who are going to subscribe anyway. Mirko got the gift sub. I'll have to like make him upgrade to level 2 or something. So Schumacher is white. Schumacher is capable of playing a really good game. I don't know what his deal is. I think that he's sandbagging. I think he's a blitz sandbagger. Maybe he can qualify for some prize tournaments or something. I don't know. How is he always not? He doesn't play rated games or what? D4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, bishop g7, e4, castles h3, d6, and then there was a nice game. Oh, by the way, just to vent a little bit. I just want to vent a little bit about the guy I lost to in the last round of the World Senior. I mean, there is luck involved in winning tournament stuff, but I mean, just want to say this. The guy I lost to in the last round, he played a good game against me, whatever. You know, it should have been a draw, but I lost. And Novik is his name. Okay, it's an 11-round tournament. He got a forfeit win in round 1. Then he offered a draw after 2 moves against Adalik with the white pieces and practically guilted him into taking a draw. Then he drew his best friend Maxim Dlugi. Also, this game was with black. He probably forced Dlugi to guilt him into a draw because they're friends. And then the best thing of all was that he, check this out, Morovich Fernandez accepted a draw in a winning position against the guy. A totally winning position. And he had plenty of time. Okay? Probably Morovich is the strongest player, in terms of career achievements in the World Senior. 50 plus. The guy gave Novik a draw in a winning position without any reason whatsoever, and it was pretty obvious that the guy was winning. He was down a pawn, but he had an overwhelming attack and agrees to a draw. That's so bizarre, dude. How lucky can you be? A forfeit win, 2 draws against the top players without play, and then a draw from a lost position, just gifted. The guy had five gifts. Me losing a draw position in the last round. He didn't really do anything. It's weird. But the reason why I mention it is because Morovich played a kind of Petrosian. Morovich actually used a Petrosian move order and then transposed to a kind of Makaganov system. But let me ask you another thing. why in the world would you, play the King's Indian against someone like Mirovic? I mean, the guy's he's that good of a player. If you want to draw or whatever, it seems like a dumbass idea to play the King's Indian. Maybe that's maybe that's his only opening or something. I don't know, but you're groveling for draws against the best players in the tournament, then you're playing the King's Indian against Mirovic. You get a totally lost position, and the guy gives you a draw. Like, what world does that happen in? I couldn't believe it, What did he do? He, bribed him to give him a draw or something? And Mirovic, finished out of the top places probably because of this game. It was really weird. But anyway, all right. King's Indian, d5. Yeah, we mentioned before that knight f3 is possible, but it's not so good. d5 is the best move. And now Xerox played essentially this is the oldest move in the world. This is the first move that everybody played against the Makaganov. And g3 is good. But you almost wonder if you'd be better off just letting the knight go to f4 and then playing g3. So black's not threatening f5 because of pawn takes pawn and g4. And the only thing that white could do here that's bad is g4, which would allow black to play knight f4 and have a good game. Yeah, knight h5 is terrible. This is absolutely the wrong idea. So black has to try either a5 or knight a6. Those are the normal moves. Although I don't like the black side of the Makaganov with e5 very much. I also think black should seriously consider playing the Benoni better than e5. Another interesting move is knight c6, which has been played. I've played it in some games. I think Smirin or someone played it. d5, knight e5, for example. This is a lot of pawn moves. White makes a million pawn moves and then kind of opens himself up. I'm not sure this is actually good for white. So, excuse me, I think they're supposed to play bishop e2. I had this game with someone on my stream, on my simuls. So I'm not a big fan of e5. d5, knight h5 is a mistake. And then I don't know if g3 is the best move, but it's definitely okay. I think it's the main move. We're threatening bishop e2. Kasparov had this famous game against, I don't remember who, where he had a knight on b4 in this type of line and then somehow sacked a knight on f4 or something, but it's not going to happen here. This is the problem now. Basically, Xerox just went into the standard wrong way to play the black side of the Makaganov. This is fundamental. This is what happened to Novik, except worse. Basically, the same thing happened to Novik, where Mirovic Fernandez just castled queenside, put his king on b1, and he was in the process of killing the guy on the king side when he just suddenly accepted a draw in a winning position. Very strange. Okay, queen d2. I don't know about this. That doesn't really, I'm not sure. Okay, if queen c2, you're going to run into knight a6, but you can still play a3. The queen on d2, it doesn't seem right. Maybe we're better off not moving the queen at all. Just play knight f3, knight d2. And again, we're back into Mirovic Fernandez. It's a Petrosian system hybrid. Knight f3, knight d2. Queen doesn't have to move. Queen on d2 isn't really great. You never want to play bishop h6 in most cases in a closed structure where the bishop on g7 is bad. It's not the dragon, you know. Okay, it happens in like the Averbach variation where the bishop's on g5, but it's a little different. Also, this queen doesn't contribute to protecting e4. So I think I would play knight f3. Oh my god! There's suspicious behavior, even a senior championship. No, I mean, I don't know. I just really don't understand it. You know, if Mirovic was in time pressure, if he had like 5 minutes left, and Novik says, I have for a draw, I could get it, you know, but Mirovic had like 25 minutes or something. It was like it wasn't obvious to a weak player, but to a guy who was 2,600, you know, and a top player for a lot of his life, and he's still in good shape. I mean, come on. It was really weird. I don't know. I'm not saying like Mirovic like didn't win on purpose, but I mean, it was just really like the guy is like a walking luck box, you know, this Novik guy. He also finished second last year, but this year was really ridiculous, you know. He gets white against Dlugi in a draw. I'm sorry, black against Dlugi in a draw. That was weird too. He used 0 minutes while Dlugi used like 50 minutes in the opening to reinvent the wheel, and then like Dlugi just gives him a draw. It even makes Dlugi look stupid. Like, you know, this guy can play like instant moves against Dlugi, who spends 45 minutes thinking, and then accepts a draw with white. It's like, dude, at least if you're gonna like have a prearranged draw, sit there and pretend that you're like thinking or something. Whatever. Queen e2 doesn't look right. And then this move. What is black doing? Seriously. Maybe Xerox has been playing a different game. Maybe he plays poker. He's Swedish. I don't know. Rook e8 is seriously bizarre. I mean, I like the concept, but that's not happening. You need the rook on f8 to play for f5. I mean, rook on e8 is good if you had like knight d4 or something like that. But when is the rook on e8 going to play in this type of position? When is this ever going to open up here? He's going to sack a knight on e4 and play like f5, f4. So now, this knight has nowhere to go except for f3. So both sides have made some mistakes here. And now he plays h4. You know, which seems early to me. But black's play is so awkward that maybe it's not so bad. Notice that Schumacher's like used 3 minutes and Xerox nothing. Oh, it was berserk. He was berserking. Wait, no. Yeah, he berserked. Oh, he berserked. It's a berserk game for my tournament. Okay. So Schumacher used half his time. Gave up half his time in no increment. Now this. Natural move, but I'm thinking like this might even be a mistake as well. I mean, it's one of the only kingside defenders here, but what's black supposed to play? Actually, h4 isn't so bad. I think that h4 is actually a decent move. Can black sack a piece? No. No. I mean, there's no way this is going to work, dude. Yeah, h4 is actually pretty strong. Okay, here, then h5. I expected him to take. Why not Why not take? You just take, you trade off your bad bishop, black takes, white plays like f3, you have queen over, the bishop has to retreat, and now we're rolling with h5, and I mean the queen can swing over here. This actually is for real now. So they're just playing like goons here because of the time thing, they're both playing badly because of the stupid like berserking thing, you know. Here, this seems like a serious mistake, dude. You're giving up your dark square bishop. Now it's going to be hard to checkmate black. You guys can feel free to... Okay, Morales is in there. Sorry, I just skipped ahead. Yeah, guys, feel free to chip into the analysis here. So I'm not just like giving a speech. Very bad decision by white. You know, dark square bishop, impossible to checkmate black now. He's just playing bullet. You know, this is like a bullet game. Reflexive bullet play. Black can recapture either way in this position. Difficult to decide, I think, objectively. Fundamentally, from the perspective of the pawn structure, it's better to take toward the center, obviously. Now, finally, the knight develops. And now black plays a4. What? a4? Ah, it's a trick. Okay. Okay, I get it. He has this tactic, knight b4. Does it even work, though? So knight takes a4, knight b4, bishop d1. It looks like Shaki's tactic doesn't even work. Okay, he's got some chances, though. I mean, he could play f5. Things are getting kind of weird now, you know? This is kind of Kasparovian. I think, you know, Schumacher is smart not to take the pawn. But in essence, like, I think a4 is probably not the best move. Why doesn't black just play a sensible move here? Guys, this is seriously... you know, if you're not sure, play a sensible move. Don't do the fancy move, you know? Also, like, the worst way to play against someone berserking is to play real fast. Use all your time. As black here, I play extra carefully, like bishop d7, maybe knight to c5. I like black's game now. Without the dark square bishop, white has no attack. a4 is too fancy. And now castle's queenside. Now, obviously, if you're a caveman and you play like rook h6, rook h1, rook h8 check, bishop takes h8, queen, it's still not mate. You need like another piece over there. Yeah, I mean, Xerox is just playing too fast. a3 is, I think, too forcing and too simple to deal with. You want to keep the tension. By playing a3, he allows white to make this brainless move, you know, and just like lock the queen side. Now maybe we're threatening knight takes b3 check. Can you guys this is like the worst game ever. Can you explain this to me? Black plays a3, knight c5, and now he doesn't play knight takes b3 check. He doesn't play knight takes b3 check here. It doesn't work. Is that why? That could be an answer. Okay, takes here and king b2. Never mind. Okay, never mind. It doesn't work. Okay, so then, all right, whatever. Now f5. Counterplay. Finally, black has some kind of counterplay. However, the primitive tripling of the heavy pieces on the H file type of thing could be dangerous. here, and now black plays f4. I see. Black's only used a minute for the whole game. White's used like virtually nothing. They're both playing bullet. Yeah, this is what my stream is about, guys. Submitting bullet games for the analysis perusal. Submit your bullet games for the perusal of the IM who doesn't play bullet chess or respect it. Now the point is, obviously if White has to play something like Queen D2, he's on his back foot. But he has, oh my god, I just clicked on, why is that? You know, can somebody explain to me why lichess has this moronic VHS playback? There's no reason you want to go to the end of the game or whatever, dude. No one ever wants to go to the end of the game for any reason. Okay, Queen takes f4. There's nothing at the end of the game. The game is over. There's no reason to make a VCR playback. It's so stupid. How many times have I like clicked on that right button like by accident? I just want to like cry. The first thing that lichess should change is getting rid of the blogs on the front page, and the second thing they should change is getting rid of that freaking playback button that goes directly to the end of the game, because nobody ever wants to use that for anything. Maybe go back to the beginning of the game, okay, but nobody wants to go to the end of the game. I mean, it's just a waste. It's a total waste, and it's too easy to click on that and just stop it. Okay, Queen takes f4, sacking a piece. Now, the point is, this isn't that obvious. Bishop takes c3. What's the killer move now? Is it like knight g5 or something? Like I said, I felt we needed one more piece. 1, 2, 3. Isn't enough. We can't checkmate him with just those 3 pieces. Is it a question of this? Oh. Well, I mean, I think knight g5 is probably a winning move. Perhaps there's some defense, rook f8. I mean, knight g5 might work, but it looks like his move is even better. Yeah, this is a killer. Cutting off the defense of h8. That's a kind of problematic situation. It's a nice mate, but I mean, guys, this game was not great. No, e5 is definitely the best move, isn't it? Maybe there was a defense. Maybe. There's no. How can there be a defense in this position? There's no way there's a defense in this position to this. Yeah, e5 is just devastating. Yeah. But I mean, really not a good game. And I do appeal to you guys, when you submit games to the stream, we want to see like quality games, not games where you won like, you know, a beautiful bullet game or whatever, the final position was great. That's nice, but I'd rather get like a quality game. You don't have to win, you know, but I'd rather get quality games where both sides played well. Queen f6 was better instead of... Yeah, okay, so where does black go over the cliff here? f5, rook d h1. And so it's not too late to play like queen f6. No, in this circumstance, white is a pawn up. Black has a very powerful dark square bishop, obviously. But it's not, white is up a really important central pawn. But it does look problematic. Like, white has to trade queens here after queen f6. And this wouldn't be that easy. In fact, actually, black may be alright. Yeah, I mean, this pawn is going, Is black even better here? Wow. Yeah. Wow. Queen f6 defends. Queen f6 defends. There were a lot of mistakes by both sides in this game. So interestingly, king c2, knight takes e4, and if knight takes e4, of course, bishop f5, and it's approximately equal. Okay. Bad game, but a good result for Schumacher and a cute finish. Okay, Astrobate is up next. Let's turn the Opening Explorer back on. Guys, please donate, support the stream. Yeah, Omnis Monkey. Good suggestion. Queen f6, black is fine. It should have been maybe a draw. Black has compensation for the pawn, it turned out. But I thought that both sides made a lot of mistakes in that game. It was very, very bad. What is that? Uh-oh. Nedog putting in suspicious links in the stream. Okay. Llama Pope. I wasn't sure if it said I am a Pope. It says Llama Pope. Llama Pope. It's like llama poop. The wax cleaver. I really need to get glasses. Maybe we should do glasses first and then a chair. Did my game make today's list? It did. Mule Skinner, hopefully you submitted a good game. It's been a little weird so far. Okay, this was kind of a last minute week because I was away and people weren't thinking about the subscriber stream. But Schumacher's game was an awful bullet battle. Now we'll see Astrobate. We'll get warmed up for Mule Skinner. Astrobate's been playing knight f3. Knight f3 is a good move, man. I mean, it's controlling two central squares. Way better than the English. I've been thinking about it a lot. The English I used to go to as like a solid opening for white, but I've been having second thoughts. You're only controlling one central square, and you're like black. You're playing black. Knight f3 is not playing black. I mean, knight f3 is just a better move than c4. But again, d5 is black's best move. Okay, knight f6 isn't bad. c5 isn't bad. I mean, c5 allows e4, so it's the reverse of the English, obviously. d5 is the best move, stopping both e4 and discouraging c4. And that's what we have here. Now b3. And this is Astrobate's delayed or deferred Nimzovich opening. I don't know what this is even called. They're still calling it the Nimzo-Larsen attack. Nedab, when are you going to start submitting games? When are you going to start playing chess? Bro. You're going to play in the World Senior next year, dude. You better start playing some real chess, man. I'm going to beat you down. Okay. Here, I think it depends on what black's repertoire is, obviously. c5 is playing black with the white pieces. I do suggest that whatever you play with increment. And the reason why I would suggest that is because all tournament chess these days is now played with increment. I mean, Blitz is 3+2. Tournament games are at least 90 minutes plus increment. Yeah, at least 5 seconds. Yeah, Exactly. So if you play 15, it should be like 15 plus 5 or something. Get used to playing with the increment if you ever intend on playing in an over-the-board tournament. Because the element of the increment changes the dynamic dramatically. Time is no longer like the main thing. It's about having a winning position on the board. You can't absolutely win on time. In the World Senior, do 1,700, 1,800 players? Yeah, there's a lot. There was this weird sandbagged or dubious Kazakh guy who was 1377. He had like 5 points out of 8 or 9 or something. The guy was like 2100 strength and he had 1377 rating. It was absurd. You can even play if you're unrated, I guess. No, I mean, I like how they call the Grand Chess Swiss, the Grand Swiss, an open in Isle of Man. It's actually not. It's not open. But this is an open. The World Senior is technically an open tournament to anyone 50 plus. So you don't have to have a rating to play. Which I like. Anyone is allowed to play. C5. Okay, this is reverse accelerated Queen's Indian. So don't do the Mariposa here. The Mariposa reversed. Bishop A3. You know, it's interesting. Once I had a game with Alex Ivanov where I was like, how was that? I guess I was white against him and he played the English defense or something. And somehow we had like him playing Bishop A6. So I was thinking maybe white can do that, but you never want to do this unless black has like pushed his pawn to D4. Essentially, black has to do something really dramatically slow for Bishop A3 to be good. So for example, well, let's say you played E3 and black plays like A6. Now this is a move, actually. If black plays a really slow move, you know, traditionally it's played in the fianchetto type of lines. But here, oh, let's just say black plays knight F6. We go like Bishop E2. Black plays G6, and now you can play Bishop A3, because this is a fundamentally weak pawn. Pilongo is Hungarian for butterfly. Okay, so this is kind of funny, man. Acerbate plays E3, and the guy like protects the C5 pawn, even though it's not attacked. Just in case Acerbate plays a Bishop A3. You can never be too careful. I mean, B6 is not a great move for black here. It's slow. It's weakening. You're playing black, and you've already made 2 pawn moves. So where's the refutation? Well, I mean, Bishop E2 is okay. But I'm wondering about C4. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if C4, D4... We're actually glad we didn't put our bishop on B2. C4, D4, B4 is one possibility. C4, D4. So there's not a single game where anyone played this in the master level, understandably, but it's not that easy to refute it, you know. But I think you've got to look for incisive moves when the opponent plays something slow. when you're playing, ask yourself the question, like, well, what my opponent is doing, does it have some kind of flaw? And if you think about it, yeah, he's only moving pawns. So you're white, and the opponent's only moving his pawns. So what do you want to do? Like, open it up, outstrip him in development. C4 is the natural move. The downside of this, of course, is this. Now, can we go after that pawn, though? Maybe take, bishop e2, and then you have to calculate here. Like knight c6. For example, knight c6, maybe b4, e5. But I like c4. It looks dynamic. But bishop e2 is definitely a move. Now, I don't believe it, right? He's making his position into a step plane. Come on now. Acerbate. With pawn play, dude, you need to work on the pawn play. Your opponent obviously does too. The step plane. I mean, I would start considering the Budapest Gambit at this point. You gotta seriously start considering, playing the Budapest. I mean, e4 can't be that bad, but I'm not thinking it's the best move. This guy is just moving pawns, and he has like weaknesses all over the place, particularly on white squares. So you want to go after the white squares. E4, he can shut you down. I'm sure this is... Oh, God damn it, it happened again. So I'm sure this is fine, but it's probably not the best. The best is c4. I don't need an engine to know that. Now he can't even play d4 because it's just like falls. You're going to rip it open as fast as possible here. His best move is another pawn move. I would think probably take d4. Get this thing opened up as fast as possible. You could also come with some kind of insanely creative, like e4 again or something, but it's probably too much. Maybe with d4 you're threatening to go e4. But anyway, white has a very good position, but you got to strike while the iron's hot here. This move is clunky, Two rights don't make a wrong, Acerbate. How many rights makes a wrong? Does anyone know? You're basically like trying to punish his mistakes by making a mistake, You're trying to punish him. You're punishing his like violating fundamental principles by violating a different fundamental principle, Let's move the same piece twice. The only justification of this is that f6 loses to queen h5 check. But at the end of the day, you need to attack and open the position. You need to open the position somehow. And knight e5 doesn't do anything to open the position. It's not a terrible move, but of course it's not the best. c4 is the only move that really opens this up. It has a good chance of opening it up. How many rights? Three rights make a left? I thought it was like 4. The guy must have been sick because he like moved a piece now with bishop e7. That's nice. You got to be tempted to play queen h5 here. But then he has g6, queen f3, And he just covers with knight f6. Dude, maybe you've got something here. You have knight g4. That's a weird position. I guess black kind of hanging on there. Knight g4 doesn't seem right either. Okay, so you played queen f3. I don't know. A little primitive for my taste. I still think you should play c4. Although d4 is possible now. But you know, it's complicated. Like c4, d4 takes. Who knows? You know, I mean, you can even attack this pawn with maybe queen g4 in some variations. Okay, here. So what are you going to do if he plays knight f6? You know, you're going to play g4. I mean, you can play knight to d7, trading off your knight on e5. The honest truth is that white, you know, didn't really achieve anything with these like piece moves. Objectively, I think after bishop e7, you know, either you induce some kind of weakness in his position, or you should just convert to a normal like Bird Larsen with f4 probably. At least if you play f4, or as I said, open it up with c4. If you do something, you play f4, you can make something. You can derive some profit from playing knight e5. You got your pawn in, and then you can retreat back and have achieved something. I mean, okay, f6 loses. Now your queen is trapped, but not really. Oof. If only black could defend this pawn, it wouldn't be so bad. There goes another rubber tree plant. Yeah, and now the h pawn is just rolling. This is over. He's lucky he has bishop d5. So now it has to be takes on d4. Takes on d4. Okay. And d3. Can we castle, please, before it's too late? Uh-oh, now he has a good outpost there on e5. Thank you for castling, by the way. I like the b file. No, I like the free knight better. He hung a whole knight. He hung a whole knight with queen takes f7. Asterbeat played the whole minute. He played the whole minute. He played the whole game in 1 minute. 1 minute and 30 seconds here. His knight is hanging with queen takes f7. And actually he misses it again because he has this. Only queen e6. He's lucky that queen e6 saves the knight. You still didn't see queen takes f7. No excuses. Now, third time is a charm. Has to be. Look what I found. Oh, a free knight. Quality games today. Black has some issues. Minor issues with his king safety here. Oof. Another one. Two knights. They call this the two knights defense. He dropped both of his knights. This is getting ugly now. The white squares need a little bit of improvement. He's getting away. Look how he's getting away. Oh no. You win the queen with rook f6. I like bishop c1 though, very professional. And then this is even better. Very nice finish. The problem is on king f4, rook f6 is going to finish him. Nice. We normally want to mate with the lowest form of life. I mean, Nedog. I'm not gonna say that. Twitch crashed. Did Twitch crash? It looks good here. I normally want to mate with the lowest form of life. If we could mate with the pawn. So you have h4 check. Press f5. Yeah, f5. What's the best mate here? Well, I mean, h4 check looks pretty good. This is mate in 1. And so... Oh, he's getting away to h6, though. Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, so you keep him honest with queen h5. Queen h5 is probably best. Now here... Now you have mate in 1 with rook takes f6, so this is the proper way to do it. Always mate with the lowest form of life. Rook takes f6. It's bad form to mate with a higher higher order. Oh no. He's starting with the push-ups. He lifted his chair over his head 200 times today because he needed to do something to soothe his OCD about chairs. He was able to get that both, kill two birds with one stone. Soothe his chair OCD and get in 200 form, some sort of form of exercise with 200 in it. Okay, now let's see a real game. Mule Skinner, we can usually count on a little better quality. We can get a little better quality. Mule Skinner is black. This is an over-the-board game. Opponent rated 1308. Oh my god, are they from Kazakhstan? If the opponent is from India or Kazakhstan, you're in serious trouble. That 1377 was like, dude, whatever. He was like giving a grandmaster a tough game. Okay. Don't take the low-rated opponents lightly. We should be happy when people play d3. I know some people don't like say the King's Indian attack, but honestly, you're playing the French and the guy plays d3. We don't get to play our favorite opening or whatever, but we should be objective, We should celebrate when the opponent plays something like d3. I suddenly had 2 messages. Oh, move 11. Oh, the lichess title arena. They should have a prize for the best blogger or something. Blogger arena. Move 11. Hey, move 11. What do you got? I'd like to take a look at this game. Oh, Adams played in Caracan. Okay. Yeah, Manasian played a weird move. We'll take a look. Okay, so 1300 playing d3. Now, Mule Skinner, I advocate Yeah, either d5 or c5. c5 is good, Sicilian style. And now knight f3, abdicate. So, I'm going to defer to John Watson here on this one. With the, I played the Sicilian. I lost this position at least once. It's getting a little hot in here from this beer. Whew, what did they put in that Corona beer? Corona. Alright, so Mule Skinner, knight c6 or d5 would be my preference. And after knight on bd2, you should play knight c6. I don't understand why everybody loves this knight f6, knight c6 thing so much, It seems like Black's, I've told this before, but I mean, it seems like you're better off playing knight c6, bishop d6. It's not as much all or nothing, knight c6, bishop g2, bishop d6. Botvinnik played like this. I've said this like a million times. And you play knight e7. Kaidanov, Botvinnik. I don't know. You have to get used to playing it, but I still think I like it better than the old traditional line. Whatever, though, it's fine. Knight f6 is fine. And then he plays queen e2. Okay, this is a weird move, but it's like Nesmedinov in reverse or something. I mean, you can always play queen e2. Normally they do that without knight on bd2, though. So, I mean, what you typically would see would be like, I don't know, knight c6, g3, I don't know, knight f6, bishop g2, d5, and then people will go here. They'll go here, but not necessarily move the knight to d2 early, because it's like overkill. Why do you need to play knight d2 and queen e2? Both of them defend e4. There could be some variations where white doesn't even put the knight on d2, maybe. It also keeps the c-pawn relevant. Alright, so boop, boop, boop. This is an unusual move order, but I mean, is there any way to really take advantage of it? That's our question here. Black lost both games where this was played. Statistically irrelevant. c2 is weak. So you have like here. That's not going to happen. You played knight c6. Okay. White played c3 in a game. The French player. If c3, that's fine. Oh, there's a Franco Campos game from 1979. Paraguayan grandmaster who lives in, I think he lives in Spain. I'm not sure, actually. I never met him. Xenon. I always thought that was a really strange name to be named after like an element or whatever. Isn't Xenon like an element? Okay. Now g3. Well, again, I don't see any way to exploit queen e2 necessarily. I mean, you could play this move, right? I mean, it's worth considering, but you are going kind of acerbate style. I mean, maybe you shouldn't let it faze you if people play bullet. They're usually idiots. I try not to let it bother me that the opponent has more time than me. Mule Skinner. The bottom line is that they're generally doing it because they're an idiot, What does white do now? After knight b4, I mean, king d1 is out. Knight b1 looks stupid. You should really take your time and think about this. I mean, he can play back to d1. But I'm fairly certain you're at least not losing anything by doing this. The very worst, you just get kicked back to where you came from. But he lost his queen e2. I think there's a chance white might play knight b3, but that looks kind of weird. This isn't really a good square for the white knight. So even if you lose the tempo, white can get the tempo. No, but I mean, get the tempo back with his knight on a ridiculous square. It's not that simple. He's going to get knight takes d3 check and c4 or something. There's no way to... It's not easy to correct that knight being on a bad square. I mean, there's no good square for his knight. It has to go to b1. b1 is maybe better. But there are these sort of levers here. You bet with queen d1. Oh, well, yeah. He'll probably get the tempo back and it'll be equal or something. But I'm just saying you should consider the possibility. So g3, bishop e7, bishop g2. Yeah. Carlos Gallegos against Alexander Shabalov, 2003. Wow, I've never heard of Carlos Gallegos. Who is that? Weird. Alright. So we got back to kind of a normal position. Still, you could play knight b4 again. There's a game. Black did this. I'm seeing dead people on the a6 f1 diagonal. Moopy Pie Loopy subscribe with Prime. Thank you for becoming a subscriber. b6, see? See, this guy is trying to get something going here. The knight is misplaced on b3, castles, bishop a6, c4. So he forces white to weaken his position with another pawn move. This is, that could backfire for us. But in general, this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about. I mean, white's play is a little weird. That's why I'm saying you're not supposed to play knight e2 and queen e2 in combination necessarily. I think move 11 is right. If this guy goes here, but maybe maybe you could try something like pawn takes pawn b6. Probably a3, and we'll have to settle for going back. And then castles, bishop a6, rook e1, and white's position is approximately equal, maybe. White is definitely not better, and you do have to watch this diagonal. Okay, so b5. This is very early, Mule Skinner. I mean, it seems to me b5 is very, very early here. You're really asking for trouble on the diagonal. But my only concern, I guess, you do have knight b4, but okay, takes. If takes. I don't know. It seems okay for you. Again, the d4 idea, like we talked about in a previous stream. This has been discussed on a previous stream, the idea of changing the structure. I had Mule Skinner submit another game. He submitted another game where a similar thing came up. That's what white's supposed to do, probably. There's an incidental queen b5 here, but I don't know what we should do. I mean, we looked at queen b6 in another another dimension. In that other game that you included, I mean, I think probably we take here. This looks dangerous. But anyways, what are you gonna do if he takes on d5? Did you have this like planned out? If you take with a knight, then you have to be prepared. I mean, c4 will be like a pawn fork at some point. So he can play like a3, preventing any kind of knight b4s, and then he'll play c4 at some point in the future. Not totally unheard of in a King's Indian type of position. If white can play like pawn takes pawn, knight takes, a3, followed by c4, b4, bishop b2. We see some examples like this in, I don't know, Larson's games with black in the King's Indian, or other really hardcore King's Indian players. "12 months. Alright, so interestingly, in this position, we reach this position. Castles, and now white won all 3 games. Branko, who's actually a really well-known Serbian grandmaster, another Ukrainian, and all grandmasters playing white here. You ask yourself, why did white win all 3 games? Well, there's your answer. White was the superior player in all 3 games. I still think that b5 is a tad early, alright? But, I mean, I think the next move is definitely... I don't know, man. I mean, you're in the file here with your king, and he can play pawn takes pawn at any moment, so this is pushing the envelope. The other thing is, like, if you want to play this kind of queenside expansion, is it possible you want to, like, put the bishop on a6? Like move 11 said, pieces behind the pawns. You know, I mean, if we castle, he plays e5, we play knight d7. We want to play a5 and bishop a6, not bishop b7. Because the bishop is more actively placed in these type of traditional King's Indian attack type of positions. It's more active on a6 than on b7, I would say. There's a George Meyer game. That's a good sign. Meyer is like very Mr. like worked out opening repertoire French defense player. You know, if his game is showing up against Pragnanandha, then you're probably playing something right. He's like the only person in the world that can play like the black side of the French, I don't know, Rubinstein and equalize or something. But bishop b7. Okay. So here again, I see some games where white has played c3. And some games where white played rook e1 and one e5. e5 is the least scary move. Rip Heather Richards. I never met her, but she had a tragic life. e5, you know, this is kind of what we want. You know, we want to go knight e7, we delay castling, we got the a5. c3 might give white the chance to trade and play d4. So maybe queen c7. Bokrosh. Humpy Bokrosh. There's a chance I played. No, I probably didn't play. I didn't play in 2001. I wasn't here. Alright, so your opponent plays rook e1, keeping the tension. Now he has options to push or take, depending on what black does. Looking at statistics, b4 looks like a bit of a weird move to me. I don't really get that. d4 also. c4 is too much. h6 weakens the king side. a5. I don't know. I mean, I feel like you really almost have to castle. If you castle, you're going to transpose to like normal positions with e5, knight d7. Julio Grande Zuniga versus Alexander Ivanov. That's really weird. Okay, Ivanov would play the e6 Sicilians. Okay, it was an e6 Sicilian. Well, I don't know. Castling is fine. You're trying to keep the tension here with queen b6. Interesting. Also possible is queen c7. Black's only constructive idea is to expand on the queen side. So, well, I mean, that's kind of an oversimplification. Black's stronger side is the queen side. Yes. But timing is the key here, When do you want to castle? Is it better to delay castling? Can white exploit this by taking on d5 and changing the structure, So no one played pawn takes pawn here. But what about this move, for example? Okay, queen b6. There is one game with e takes d5. Queen b6 it's a little more aggressive and also exposed to attack on b6 than on c7. Nedog. We have two NE names now. Nefedov. Nedog, meet Nefedov. You're gonna be confusing me now if you're both in the same stream because it's like, it's too many people with the n sound. You lost. Wait, I'm playing my next over the board tomorrow. The bad news is I lost my October over the board. And it was a first Stockfish Line game on my side until I blundered like an idiot. I moved 20. Not enough practice, my friend. Well, you know what you need to do. You need to play more. Alright. Welcome back, Nefedov. So I'm thinking e takes d5. E takes d5, and white played a4 here. Missing the point, right? What is white's best move in this position? Actually, there's a little issue here. Nothing to worry about, nothing major, right? I mean, this would be the first thing I would think about. Because I studied Rubinstein's games, again. I'm gonna... You're gonna have to be careful here. Pawn takes pawn. Knight b3. Is this pawn long for this world? Maybe you can just shut him down with knight e4, though. Okay, there's no substitute for calculation. Maybe it doesn't work. I want there to be some kind of sacrifice. But black's playing a dangerous game here. I mean, it looks safer to take with a knight. Well, obviously, like Mule Skinner, you have to be careful about casting into a kingside attack too early. But there's no panacea. Leaving your king in the center isn't safe. That's why he should think about opening it up. That's what the really good King's Indian players do. They're not going to robotically close it up. If your king's still in the center, he's not going to do that. He's going to try to find the appropriate response. So I'm trying to figure out the appropriate response here for white against your waiting plan, If you take with the knight, I mean, that looks safer to me, but this becomes an issue. speaking of Alexander Ivanov, oddly, Alexander Ivanov was playing this line with white, so it's funny that Granda played it against him. Not a great choice, Granda. Sometimes people prepare and they're like, it's important when you prepare for an opponent, you make sure you don't accidentally play something they play themselves with the other color. I do that I've done that sometimes, If you do prepare, you don't have enough time, you just look at their games with one color. It turns out that Alexander Ivanov plays this Queen E2 King's Indian attack against the E6 Sicilian. So Granda Zuniga played the same system that Ivanov plays with white against him. Of course he didn't beat him in 2007. Ivanov started playing this back, around that time. He was always an open Sicilian player. Sometimes some other stuff, but not much. But C4. So I would say the standard approach here is A3, taking away the B4 square, and then white goes for C4. Something kind of dynamic. And what's going to happen to the pawn structures if you do this and he does this? This happens in the old Indian. What do you do now? You know what I mean? It's an interesting position, isn't it? Do you really want to take here and give him a knight on C4? Actually, he probably won't even do that. He'll probably take with a pawn, fix his structure, and leave you with an isolated pawn on C5. It's a dynamic position with a very imbalanced sort of structure. Okay, anyway, white plays this. This is a mistake, I would say. Minor mistake, but still not trying to be incisive. And then Michael Brooks, 2017, against some guy who's played here. He played here at some point. Brooks being rated 2384 in 2017. I'm a little doubtful of that. Rating in the freezer. We keep our rating in the freezer. Not playing too many tournaments in India in the last 10 years. We'll keep your rating above 2350 if you're an IM. Knight D7, and now knight F1. Now we got a standard position. But your bishop's not on the best square. It would be better on A6. Alright, still pretty good. A5, H4, and now B4. So I don't know now what you're supposed to do. And can you not castle forever here? Should you play H6? Is white threatening bishop G5, for example? This is a positional threat. I would argue that bishop G5 is a kind of positional threat. Take back with the pawn or trade your dexter bishop off. Though he'll usually put the bishop on F4 and not trade pieces at all. Perhaps that's better. But what is black supposed to do here? I can understand not wanting to castle now. I don't think that white should necessarily have played E5, but you should consider possibly playing H6. Since you're not castled over there, maybe you can afford to do that. But you definitely don't want to let him play H4, H5, H6. If he goes H5, I think you're going to have to play H6. You donated some money to pay for my brown beer. No brown beer. Yellow beer. Golden beer. Golden beer is cheaper than brown beer anyway. I can have more golden beer and less brown beer. Brown beers. Beers are like bears. They come in golden and brown colors. Coincidence? Illuminati. I think it's the Illuminati. That is definitely not a coincidence. Where's my Illuminati? Did they pull the Illuminati? There it is. Is it a coincidence that beers and bears come in the same colors? I I start saying stuff like this after one golden beer. And just imagine how I am after brown bears. So, okay, b4. This is kind of... looks fine, I guess. I wish our bishop was on a6. Yeah, I don't know if you're supposed to play like a4 first or b4 first. It's hard to say. I guess b4 is fine. Again, I think h6 is worth considering. And then he does a3. Okay, so a3. Bobby Fischer, whatever, you know, classic. Thank you, Nefidov, for the donation. Nefidov has a point. You need to set up a new donation thing on the screen. What's the goal for your computer chair? I'm glad you told me that because I needed a name for it. It's a computer chair. Okay. You saw a sleeping bull? That sounds like an Indian name. That's your Indian name, Sleeping Bull. Mule Skinner. Your Native American... I'm sorry, I'm not politically correct. Your Native American name is Sleeping Bull. Then. Oh, a bulldozer. Oh, no. It was a joke. Outside the bar the other night, a bulldozer. Oh, that's a good one. Okay. Right up there in NetOx territory. Mule Skinner, maybe move 11 will like it. b4, a3, but you don't do a3 just for no reason. You know, a3 is to like stop black from playing a3. a3 looks like playing on the wrong side of the board. Now you castled. But, I mean, you know, I don't think he's threatening anything. I think you should still consider h6. So this is the kind of thing, like, I don't know what to say. You know, I mean, if he plays that, we definitely don't want to take and open up the h file. And he will trade off your good bishop. And f6 is kind of out of the question, so this is my point with the h6. You know, maybe that's a better waiting move. You could always castle later on. Just a suggestion. Okay, after a3 castles, you know, bishop g5 is not the end of the world. You can let him trade your bishop. I mean, if this, I mean, maybe even like rook e8 or something. Nothing happening. What's he going to do? Attack you down the a file? I mean, this is how stupid a3 is, really, you know. It's like, well, okay. What are you going to do to me, you know? Okay, here, and then rook fc8. Dvoretsky approved. We have the classic kind of knight d4 and pressure against the c2 pawn. And obviously there's the use of the f8 square for defensive purposes. Now knight g4. Alright, now slowly white's going to start developing some serious threats on the king's side. So I think here, you know, you need to start getting your shit together, basically. Knight d4, pawn takes, and then maybe this is difficult. But we need to look into this. First thing I like about knight d4 is that it trades pieces. It's like one less piece to attack me with. We have pressure against c2. There's a leverage with b3, which is going to be really kind of nasty. It wouldn't really be a problem if it wasn't for the fact that you're threatening to play like b3. He has f4, f5, but that's slow. So honestly, I mean, without looking at the engine, I would think like this is a serious consideration. You know, and you're threatening, like, don't think he can ignore it. I mean, trading pieces will take some of the kingside attacking prospects out. He loses that knight g5 support. I mean, if I didn't know what to do, I would seriously consider this. So c4 is more, you know, that's more like going all out. Now white has to decide how to handle it. Just leave the tension or take on c4. He plays a really bizarre move now. I mean, my opinion. Are you sure about 1300 grading of your opponent? Well, I mean, honestly, Nefedov, there was a 1377 player from Kazakhstan in the World Senior who was playing. He was playing 2100. I know how you like Kazakhstan, but I think they have a problem with the rating accuracy there. Secondly, it's the King's Indian attack, Nefedov. Everybody knows the first 15 moves of the King's Indian attack. I mean, this move, check this move out, dude. What is white doing? Queen e3. It's the King's Indian attack. You're supposed to attack on the king side, not trade queens. Why is this guy playing queen e3 and offering a trade of queens? Black breathes a sigh of relief as white trades queens. It makes no sense at all. There's no real player would ever play queen e3. I mean, it's insane. You can take, and that's double-edged. I mean, black has bishop a6. We have just recapture. This looks too dangerous to take. And then there's just leave the tension, and it's up to black here. I mean, there's also bishop e3, inducing d4. Does that even work though? Knight d4, knight d4, bishop d4, queen d4, bishop takes g2. I mean, you probably have, well, you would have compensation if you weren't losing an exchange here. I'm just saying, there's all these different options, but this is not one of them. I mean, this is handing black a massive advantage. Because you have play on the c file, and his attack is now non-existent with the queens off the board. So now you just have a free pass on the queen side. Queen takes, bishop takes. But you played h5. It's a h5. I mean, this looks maybe overthinking to me. First rule of beating much lower rated players. Oh, guys, did you see this? Do you remember this guy? Do you guys remember the that loser? This guy? Oh, he's not there. He now has he's not there anymore. But there was a blog with the guy who beating lower rated opponents. Now he's completing his series. He had a series of blogs about beating stronger opponents, and now he's following up with a series of blogs about beating weaker opponents. So stay tuned for that. That's really interesting stuff. And he's got really good AI generated blog, covers. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that. What we're talking about, beating lower rated players. Sorry guys, wrong study here. So why h5? Okay, you drive his knight to a kind of bad square. But I think first and foremost, we should be looking on the queen side here. Are you winning by force? Wins pawn. Oh, you're going for the e5 pawn. Well, I'm going to make a really crazy suggestion just on intuition. I bet there's more than one way for you to win a pawn in this position. Just saying. I'd be very surprised if there wasn't more than one way to win a pawn, because his pawns are extremely weak. I mean, if you take here, he takes. You take here, he takes. I mean, both of these pawns, look, they're ready to go. But I just wanted to say that you're playing on on the king side, you're weakening the g5 square a little bit. Your pawn to h5. You understand what I'm saying? Like, there's a chance this move could come back to haunt you. In a way, you know, because you weaken your king side, or you weaken the g5 square, or your h pawn is a little bit weak. If I can win a pawn on the queen side, I'd rather do that. But you're going to pick off his e pawn. But why not exchange first? Exchange first. Maybe a better move order. Maybe it doesn't matter. Okay. So you're not just winning a pawn, you're gaining a friend, right? Here, knight takes d3. Well, if that goes, it's like game over, man. 2 pawns is not 1 pawn. 2 pawns is game over in most cases. All right. Bishop f1. Wait. Maybe after that guy finishes his series on how to beat stronger opponents, how to beat like weaker opponents, he can like do some blogs about how to win winning positions and how to lose. I should do like a meme blog. How to lose losing positions. Alright, I'm just stupid. Whatever. Rook c2, losing positions. Alright, the proper way to lose losing positions. We should do like sarcastic meme blogs. Beating losers. Alright, knight takes e5, bishop f1. Yeah, I mean, you played the most obvious move. There is a problem here. You're on the 7th rank, but you're actually not necessarily threatening anything. If you take the pawn, he has bishop d4, forking your, skewering your rook and your knight. Rook on the 7th is a standard move. And I actually like not taking here because I do see that there's some situations where your bishop on b7 will be attacked. I don't really like opening up, drawing drawn positions. Yeah, how to lose drawn positions. Hate these blog guys, really. They just want attention. It's just so gross. Why on this site? Do it on cheese.com or something, but why here? The whole premise of the site is that it's free, it's not commercial. Stop doing that. Why does the communist government allow that to happen on lichess? I don't understand. There must be some sort of insurgency at lichess that's allowing these guys to be like, advertising. It's very suspicious. Maybe like Thibault is dead, and it's like, we need conspiracy theories. Like Putin is dead, kind of thing. Like Thibault is really dead, and they just like pretend he's still alive. And they're just keeping him alive to collect like his like pension or something. I don't know. They're keeping him. They're just, I don't know. It's just very suspicious. If Thibault was alive, would he allow these guys to do like commercial blogs on the front page of lichess? Seriously. Alright. I think he was like killed by Colombian rebels. Bishop f1, rook c2, a takes b4, bishop takes b4 with the tempo. Now we're threatening nothing. One thing I was thinking about here was like if you could take on b2, there could be some cases where you sack the exchange, like pawn takes a3. But he took, and now taking with the a pawn looks bad because your back rank is weak. Nice thing about h5 actually, Mule Skinner, there's the bonus, and I don't know, you probably considered this, but you may have a bonus. You get bonus points for giving yourself luft and not getting back rank mated, which is always helpful. A takes b4, bishop b4, rook c1, rook c8, rook c2, rook c2. But we're still not up 2 pawns. You're within the parameters for like white holding a draw. We need a second pawn, Mule Skinner. Let's not screw around here. Or some kind of cohesive advantage. Why don't we have bishop a6? Oh, it's not our move. Okay, that would explain it. Oh no, he played bishop b6. So now you get a b2 pawn. He gets an a5 pawn. All you need is a second pawn, and you're winning, for sure. In all cases, rook b2, bishop a5, bishop a5, rook a5. Your bishop is really crap. Well, we can play bishop a6, and you did. And now if d4, bishop f1. But what he does here is it's not enough. You know, he's going to lose. He needs something better than bishop takes a5 at this point. Bishop takes a5 isn't going to hold. Can he play the obvious only other try, which is d4? Clearly you take on f1. He'll take with the knight. Actually, maybe he can't take with the knight. Wow. If he takes with the knight, he leaves f3 open. You might have some threats there. Knight f3 check is really scary, so he probably has to take with the king. That's bad too. Wow, he's just crushed, man. The pawn on h5 is actually pretty good. Wow, he's totally crushed there. Oof. So this looks bad. Knight d3. This is one last chance for white, maybe. Knight here. Is your knight a little awkward? Not enough. You really should be. You should be ending up 2 pawns up here. That's totally winning. Yeah, that's pretty good. So bishop a5, bishop a5, rook a5, bishop d3. The b pawn and the f pawn, like at least one of these is going to fall, and I don't think there's anything he can do about it. Checkmate you with knight on g5, rook a8 would be his only hope. So I guess bishop takes d3, knight takes d3, knight f3, and then you play like f6. I don't know, can you play f6? At least he has to go for this. This is his only hope. I mean, knight g5 and rook a8 mate. That's his only hope, isn't it? I mean, b4, okay, he tries to keep that pawn. Takes, no. Here, takes, no. You didn't trade pieces. All right, Mule Skinner, this is a little risky. I mean, it's his good bishop and your bad bishop. You know, I really feel like you should simplify here. It feels like you're getting a little too indecisive, like me. Bishop takes f1, check. King, knight takes f1. Pick off the second pawn, and you're winning. Don't mess around here. Now his knight can't get to g5 and threaten mate in 1 either, so it's kind of convenient. Like, this should be a very easy win. Chicks love obsessed chess players. Well, the worst mistake I ever made on a date was like telling someone that I was like a chess player. You know that, Nedog. I mean, you don't know that particular story, but I'm just saying, like, one of my most infamous dating mistakes was like talking about the fact that I played chess. Alright, anyway. That guy Tot Angrash used to always joke about dating advice. That was a stupid meme. Bishop e4 check, f3, rook c2 check, and then it's over. Okay, another pawn. You didn't take that pawn either. Huh? Yeah. Oh my god, he's got the trap. Wow. So he had this. See? You see what I'm telling you? That's all because you didn't exchange bishops. Why didn't you exchange bishops here? Bishop takes d3. I don't understand why you didn't exchange. This pawn is gone. Rook b1, what does he do? How is he getting his knight to g5? He literally has absolutely no defense here. What? Check? King h7, what can he do? Even if he could play knight to g5, it's probably nothing. But that's not happening here. This is a standard perfect position. 5 against 3 on the king's side. You're going to win. It was a bad decision not to exchange bishops. So now he has this like stupid trap. And you can't take the pawn. It's okay though. I mean, you can just admit your mistake, and that's what you did. You know, admit your mistake. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, bishop d3. No, don't be afraid to admit your mistakes in chess and in life, Nedog. I fully admit, like, I regret telling my date that I was a chess player. You tell your date that you're like a chess player at a romantic dinner or something. I mean, that's the last date you're gonna get, dude. Game over. Bishop takes d3, knight takes d3, b5, rook b2, but we didn't pick off the second pawn. White structure, of course, is an atrocity. So even though white is only one pawn down, you have the perfect island. You'll Skinner subscribe with Prime. I guess that just like shows up late. 64 months, ironically, for Mule Skinner. Again, I think we need an Illuminati for that. Once, when I was early on here in Budapest, Nedog, if you're speaking in English and the other person isn't necessarily a first language English speaker, sometimes when you say you're a chess player, people think you're a jazz player. I had this happen like a couple of times. And it usually works to my benefit. Then after a while, even if I pick up on like, what's happening, I just don't correct it because I'm like, okay, I'm better off like not telling them that I'm a chess player. Rook a8, check, king h7, rook b8, knight c5. Yeah, Mule Skinner's time pressure sort of stuff can get ugly, worse than me. This pawn is a really nice pawn, but if you start pushing it, it's no longer a protected passer, so that's always tricky. Okay, white has no threat. We are not caring about like him taking on h5. You have the iron structure. Imagine this position, like, I don't know, just say, actually it's hard for you to make a waiting move here, but just for argument's sake, like, say you go here, and he takes, like, that's basically like the worst pawn structure ever. Four isolated pawns against a perfect chain. It's got to be like +4 for black or something. Alright, so final. Pick off the. King g6 is a little materialistic there, Mule Skinner. I want to say. I think you need to like get your priorities straight here. Getting rid of this pawn on b5. This is not a threat. Like, pawn takes h5 is not a threat. I mean, I guess it could become a threat, though. If you do allow it, right? Let's say you do this, he takes here, then you do this, and then he does this, and then you take, if you're, like, careless, something bad could happen. But, I mean, you, like, really have to cooperate. Like, even here. You probably can take, and you're fine. It would take a lot of cooperation. Like, you have to self-mate yourself. It's not even that easy to self-mate. Like, how do you checkmate yourself here? Isn't that kind of funny? Like, not easy with those broken pawns. How does black, like, checkmate himself? It's going to take a little bit of work. You probably have to hang f7 to the rook with check, and then get the knight in there. But anyways, I guess king g6 is fine. Now he's regrouping. Ah, this is a risky move. Risky move. Do we have any other options? It does stop knight e3. I'd rather not touch my pawn chain. I'm not sure we really have a choice. I mean, you have other approach. You could try to swing your knight over here. This has got to be good, though. And he just resigned. Well, yeah, I mean, he has a problem. He needs to get the rook behind. King f1, rook b1 check. So there's no time for king f1. He can't play king f2. You're pushing d2 next move. But actually, if you go d2, he has like rook c8, or rook d8, I mean. So let's say he plays on here. Knight f1. Now you have d2, rook d8. Pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, knight e4. King doesn't have a move. You're threatening rook b1. So let's say b6. But I mean, I'm seeing nightmare scenarios where the guy would save the game, maybe like rook b6, knight d2, knight d2, rook d2. This is like nightmare scenario. Rook here, rook g2. Somehow like white hangs on. This is the Mule Skinner nightmare scenario against a 1300. Somehow the guy hangs on because you pushed your protected passer. But I'm not sure there's a better way to do it. You know, pushing the pawn looks okay. You got to be really careful though. Maybe take and push. This was the game actually. Well, that was the actual game continuation. What I just showed. Take here, exactly the game continuation. Are you serious? Did I just put that in there? I just put it in there. Okay. Sorry guys, I'm an idiot. I just put that in there. The guy resigned after d3, but it's a little early to resign. Especially for like a kid or something. What kind of self-respecting kid resigns here? You know? Maybe he only looked at, I don't know, one variation or something, but this is not where I would resign. You still can try knight f1. I mean, this has got to be tried. The pawn is no longer a protected passer. And this b pawn being on the board it's still a little iffy. If you push this too fast, you know, he has rook d8. 4 against 3 on the same side is not really where I wanted to be. I wanted to be up 2 pawns. So you have to do this, and knight e4. Let's see. It's winning. But it's not, you know, it's not that easy. As I said, b6. Now rook b1. b7. Jeez. f5. Yeah, I mean, so it could have gotten a little complex there. Okay. We've got a game submitted from Move 11, right? This is Michael Adams versus Artashes. Manassian used to be a very good player. I mean, he still is, but he looked like he's aged more than, you know, I don't know, he's lost a little bit more off of his game. He was never Michael Adams level, but I mean, you know, it looks like of the two of them, Manassian has lost more off his fastball than let's say Michael Adams. But you know, that's the thing again. I mean, I think like people from wealthier countries have a better ability to, you know, reverse aging. Look at Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos is like reversing aging. Alright. Michael Adams has a pretty good chess career. I'm sure he has plenty of money, so he can reverse aging better than his opponent. Nefedov, what are you trying to say, bro? I'm aware of who Manassian is, you know. We know who he is. I mean, I know him, so I know about his name. Alright, we all have OCD here, Nefedov, it's okay. Bishop f5, h4. I mean, you're not the only one. Just join the club. h4. And, you know, I was talking about this position with some people recently. And I think h6, you know, this move really needs more following. You know, I think it shouldn't be dismissed. But h5 is consistently the #1 move. Look at the statistics, though, you know. I have to confess, I've never looked into this move. Samuel Adams Samuel against Adams Michael. The important thing is getting these names straight. Okay, bishop d3. Well, okay, Manassian plays the main line with h5, what I would call the main line. Now Adams plays bishop d3. A lot of people played bishop g5 for a long time. That's out of fashion. And then c4 is the other acerbate favorite. No options here. Black has to play bishop d3. Now, if you look at what Manassian did now, Manassian, I'm sure that I'm pronouncing his last name wrong. Yes, we don't need anyone to point that out, how bad I am with Armenian pronunciations. Unnecessary. We really, you know, don't focus here on that. Knight h6. Someone actually did this. Well, it's remarkably similar to what happened in the game. But if you did this, wouldn't you have bishop takes h6? Bishop takes d3. Bishop takes g7. I mean, am I okay? I mean, where am I again? Is this the point? Bishop takes c2? Queen takes c2? Bishop takes g7? I mean, maybe I'm an idiot, but I don't think I trust Black's position here. Anyway, alright, that's silly. Bishop d3, bishop d3. Okay, queen d3. And now Black plays e6. It's also possible to play queen a5 check. And I was looking at this. I mean, I think this may be the better way to go. I am not an idiot. It's been confirmed. The problem is, Pavel, that it's all relative. You know, we're all idiots compared to someone else. I was trying to explain this. According to Swat Adalik, everyone's an idiot, and I was joking with them that the problem is you need to classify the level of idiots. You can't just go around calling everyone an idiot. We need like Grandmaster idiot level, IM level idiot, Candidate Master idiot, you know. There's all different levels. They're like onions. Idiocy is like an onion. It has layers. But anyway, it's nice of you to say I'm not an idiot, but I'm afraid you're wrong. Queen takes c3, and then queen a5 check. Alright, e6. By definition, no one is not an idiot. Adams plays knight f3 here. And then Minassian unleashes the novelty. So if you're preparing for Michael Adams, let's say, and you're black, and he's very predictable. Like, he really plays what he plays, and he plays the advanced Caro-Kann like every time. I'm not sure he plays anything else against the Caro-Kann. So you could really like prepare pretty deeply for his. I mean, David Cummings from Canada got a completely equal game against Adams earlier in this tournament. He played a really nice game and then like later lost an equal position. But this looks to me like Minassian being like, oh yeah, I'm going to try to find a way to like, get Adams out of preparation by playing a new move. This is a known motif though. Like, there are other variations where this happens in a different position. You play what? You played against me OTB and online. I'm not wrong when I disagree with you that you're not an idiot. I'm confused. Doesn't that make me an idiot? Alright. Bishop takes h6. It all comes down to definition, and seriously, this is a new move by Minassian here. Let's see the lichess Explorer. So knight h6 is played in 3,791. Was played in 3,791, and that's not even counting bullet games. Okay, it's the kind of move that, by the way, is knight e7 a move? Yes, it is. It's like the second most common line. But this allows bishop g5. Well, I mean, obviously, like, knight e6 allows bishop g5, but it's not a pin. It's a different position. But you will allow the capture on h6. Bishop takes h6. So the vast majority of players here played bishop g5, whereas our 2600, former 2700, Michael Adams played bishop takes h6. Well, I mean, okay. This move, leaves the rook awkwardly placed in Black Hand Castle. So he has a hard time coordinating his position after this. But I think, the question is, like, position's fairly simplified, Black's still fairly solid. Still, you gotta really say, like, look, this is a mainline Caro-Kann. Now, the main line is the advanced variation. It didn't used to be, but it is. And you got a position where there's over 500 games here, and no master level player has ever played knight h6 in this position before. Literally none. So this is a totally new move because people were afraid of bishop takes h6. It's not an accident, All of these masters who played black, they were afraid of bishop takes h6. They're not afraid of bishop g5, They're afraid of bishop takes h6, and that's what Adams does. Bishop takes h6, rook h6. Now it's hard for black to coordinate. g5 is a little weak. On the other hand, black's position is fairly solid. He has a great bishop. White has given up a bishop for a knight. This is a great defender. So I saw this position. I thought it was interesting. I thought Minassian had chances, Knight c3 now by Adams. I mean, clearly you could play knight d2, knight f1. But where's knight ending up? Like, it doesn't look like these squares are so great. So when you play knight c3, his intention is to probably play knight e2 and knight f4. Knight f4, knight g5. Knight f4 is a good square. Knight d7, knight e2, and then queen a5 check. So, is Mickey going to castle queenside or kingside here? Or neither. You know, put the king on f1. So I guess here there's a dynamic that isn't that obvious, but can black go for c5? I know I looked at this with an engine a long time ago when the game was first played. Brown beers. I don't know about that, Nidog. I never specialized in brown beers with you. Beers in general. Yes, but brown beers? Are you sure? Do we drink Guinness? I'm way more entertaining in real life. The poshiest restaurants. Now he's really exaggerating. I never drank Newcastle. Maybe that's it. I didn't remember. WJ Loop subscribed to Tier 1. Nice to have you back in the chess team. WJ Loop, welcome. So 92. Well, I'm wondering about c5. Chess engine suggests f6. Yeah. I don't think f6 was necessarily Manassian style. You guys have to remember, when you take these Armenian chess players, their cultural hero, for good reason, was Tigran Petrosyan. Now, Manassian is a dynamic player. He's capable of playing fantastic attacking chess. I don't think he's like a Petrosyan clone. But if you look at the way he plays the King's Indian attack, the way he plays this Caro-Kann, you see a heavy influence. I would say he's like a slightly more aggressive version of Petrosyan. More dynamic in a way, but perhaps not as accurate, not as solid, not as correct. Alright. Queen a5 check. It's kind of a weird move. But we'll see his intention now. Move 11 was talking about this. The psychology of playing higher rated players. I'm sure that Manassian might play differently against a weaker player. We should check out some blogs. But I think we run the risk of being afraid of stronger players. In this case, a 2400 being afraid of a 2600. Manassian has a lot of experience, but still, he's playing a little bit of afraid. It feels like he's playing a little bit afraid here by going for the queen exchange. Nefedov's jealous because Nedog met me before. No, Nedog's cheating, Nefedov. He met me before I was a chess streamer. That's cheating, You met me from the stream. Nedog met me on an online dating app. She's really a very beautiful girl. I think she's part Kazakian. Alright, no. Queen a5. Let's see, c3. Now, Nedog is single. No. Nefedov's single, though. Queen b5. You never know when I'm telling the truth or I'm just being sarcastic or joking around. Just makes you wonder, I know that I'm sometimes too passive against higher rated players. Too fearful. Where do we draw the line here? So Adams didn't want to trade queens. This is a nice that's not a fearful move. I only played through this game kind of quickly the first time I saw it, so I didn't pay careful attention. Whatever happens, Black's kingside is messed up by the rook on h6. But you know what would happen if you traded queens? if Adams allows a trade of queens, this suddenly doesn't matter that much. The lack of being able to castle kingside and the awkward rook on h6 really goes down in value if the queens are exchanged. Attacking chances go down. So Adams has to avoid exchanging queens. Queen d2. You know, this is a huge weakness, the base of the pawn chain. Morales will tell you that. That's why castling queenside isn't an option. I mean, sadly, the black king would be pretty safe, but he's going to get annihilated on f7, the base of his pawn chain. I mean, Manassian here doesn't have to play c5, by the way. I mean, he could play like bishop e7. And, you know, perhaps keep alive like some big possibility of castling queenside. c5, a4, weakening the b3 square. Here, queen b6. Now, we expected queen a6. I expected queen a6. Do you guys feel differently about it? Maybe b4 is a problem? No. Maybe this is just meaningless. I don't know. It just looks like the queen is like better here. But Manassian wanted to go here to keep pressure on this, to keep pressure on this. Castles kingside. Now the white king is safe, black not as much. And now black, well, black makes like the ultimate committal move here with c4. But not easy for black to coordinate his position. You know, I don't know. I mean, what's he supposed to do? Like rook h8? Bishop e7? Black has to watch out that white doesn't have c4 at some point. Everything's fine and good until suddenly you get annihilated by c4. This is a very standard, by the way, Caro-Kann advanced variation theme. Like, it's all fun and games until somebody, like, annihilates your center. Like, rook h8, uh-oh! You know, c4, wait a minute. Another reason why I think, like, I liked queen a6, maybe, subconsciously, to keep an eye on that diagonal. It's a beer goggle bonanza. Pawn takes pawn d5. I'm not so sure about this anymore. Has anybody talked to you about control of the center? You know, this could go bad for black, like, really quickly. So I think, seriously, like, what about this? Not giving him c4 without a fight. Has anyone any ideas? Do you think Manassian was, like, afraid of some kind of tactics? I mean, b4, trying to trap his queen or something? I don't know. But anyway, I'm just gonna say I theoretically could have won a bronze medal in the last round. That's all I'll say about my tournament, King Kong Chess. I was in position, I got myself in position to theoretically be able to win the bronze medal, and then epically failed. But I have Ponda. Ponda has... we gave Ponda, like, a medal, another medal, just to kind of make me feel better. Alright, c5, queen b6, castles, and then there. He's seriously he's concerned about c4. But this is super committal, you know. Adams is like, it reminds me a little bit of like the zombie apocalypse that was the tournament. No, that's subtle, right? Oh, Mickey, are you going to play b3? Bishop e7. It feels kind of like a machine or something. It just keeps like churning. The Adams machine just keeps churning out the space. It just keeps going, like no matter what. You can't stop it. It's like eternal. b3. No matter what you do, it's just going to keep coming at you. Don't mind that this is like anti-positional and he's attacking the head of the pawn chain. Everything's under control. It occurred to me like one thing about this position, which is problematic for black. It's the piece, and Adams has done this in other games. My best video on YouTube is Adams Bologan. Adams is a very conceptual player. I mean, he's deeper than most players. He's good at calculation, but it's more like his strength is really in the depth of his understanding of strategy and stuff. These knights are good. It's a closed position, but the bishop is not as good in closed positions where there's no like pawn breaks. He has no way to like really open the position for the bishop to be really strong. Also, 2 knights is a better combo against bishop and knight in this type of position where there's really no pawn breaks for black. I mean, black's only pawn break is like f6, and it's tragically difficult to play, and it's basically never going to happen. So essentially you get to this position where the structure is like fixed, but white has 2 knights against bishop and knight. And I think that's where Adams, he knows he wants to be. Rook h8, okay. Queen b2, pressurizing b7, b6. Now, pawn takes pawn. Okay, the a file opens up. I saw the game around this point, and clearly Adams is better. But I obviously have no idea. I was playing my own game. I couldn't figure out, if like white's winning or just better. It looks like black's pretty solid, right? Knight f4. Now, stop for a second here. No, you not only have to talk about Petrosian, right? When you talk about Armenian chess players, you also have to talk about other players. Let's see. From the region, let's say. I know there's a lot of tension between different countries, but still. Who played the Caro-Kann really well? Gurgenidze. This is a known idea. G6. Gurgenidze Caro-Kann structure. King f8. How many times have I used this? By the way, I lost a very similar game to Hikaru once in an advanced French. King f8, king g7. That's what Manassian wants to do here. But in general, like, I don't want to make pawn moves unless I have to. But what's he going to do? This is more weaknesses. G6 and now knight g5. Clearly, we're threatening to sacrifice something. White has more space, and this is what I'm talking about pawn breaks, bishops and pawn breaks. No pawn breaks for black. White could theoretically play c4. We can still play c4. Hint, hint. You guys want a little foreshadowing? White could seriously play like g4, c4, or f4, f5. Whereas black's pawn breaks consist of what? Like b4, which is never going to happen, and f6, which detonates this whole position. But this is really brutal, man, what happened now. Queen c6, it looks like black's okay. Queen a1. Now, I expected black to play king f8 here, but there's tactical. Like, knight takes e6, pawn e6, knight here, check. Black has no move. So those knights are pretty nasty. What about taking on g5? I mean, now I haven't looked at this with the engine, but shouldn't we like just bite the bullet and do this before it's like too late? I say we bite the bullet and we take on g5. Try to put our king on g8. I'm not sure if it would have mattered. Well, he does it anyway, in a couple moves. Queen c6 here. It's just like this move is not cool. I mean, rook g8 is like, dude, what's the point of that? This is just a total waste of time. I mean, I don't have the clocks here, and Manassian is not one for time pressure, but it's probable that he had less time than Adams. Rook g8 just doesn't do anything, So now queen c1. Now he takes. I think this is inevitable. Pawn takes, king f8. So the rook g8 move, I guess, was just totally unnecessary. It's a closed position. Maybe it doesn't matter that much. Okay. Now check, and uh-oh. Check here, king g7, queen e7. This is like, Mommy, I don't feel good. Can we go home now? I was just thinking, I didn't see this at the board or at the tournament, but I mean, I guess if nothing else, White could do rook a3, rook a7. Oh, rook f3. Oh, yeah. Well, you saw the game score. But this is even more brutal. He plays rook a. Okay, he's he's concerned about rook a3. This is a direct threat, man. I mean, that's just the easy way in. So Manassian plays rook a8. And now c4, and now so I was talking. I saw this. I was like, oh no, poor guy. After all that, c4 just kills you. But it's not just rook f3. So it's like a doubly brutal. It's the d5, the d5 thing. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely not what you want to do in the Caro-Kann. Play knight h6, allow bishop takes h6, and have a static structure with bishop and knight versus two knights. It's a strategic beatdown. But c4 is such a beautiful move, Adams didn't start that dominating in this tournament, but he had the kind of hesitation in the middle, a bunch of draws. He had a crazy game with Starua, crazy game with Stephenson. He was a little shaky in the middle, but he really took it down at the end. D takes c4, and now I thought d5. But maybe Manassian has something here. I don't know. Maybe pawn takes rook. Does this work? Are you serious? Pawn takes rook. Pawn takes b2. I don't know. I mean, probably White's winning anyway, right? Yeah. He's winning anyway, but this would get a little weird. You don't want to have that happen. So he plays this. Nothing fancy. And now there's kind of a problem with the f7 square. So rook f8 is forced. And then, it makes me... I felt like there was a winning move here for White, even without d5. But I don't see it. I don't see it. If White doesn't have a d-pawn, I guess he's in trouble. I mean, besides the fact this pawn is just coming down. Adams is now a pawn down. But boom, it's just crushing. E takes d5 and then e6. There's nothing black can do. Here, check. And he just wins a piece. Queen takes e5. Crushing. Yeah, it was a really impressive game. Very impressive game. What time is it, guys? Okay. So it's getting late here. What is this? Ah, a game against Greek FM Alexakis. I don't even know. Okay. Paris is a subscriber? I can't remember. Whatever. You better be. Do you like a watch? I'm watching with 160 pixel. I barely see you. He's watching on a smartwatch. What is this? What is this? Caruana Carlson. Well, I don't know. Even if he's not a subscriber, I'm still going to analyze this game quickly. But this is the last one for today. That beer was too much for me. I drank a whole beer tonight. Getting old. The best part of the World Senior Netag was like unlimited beer and wine at dinner. It was like a trap, though. You know, I almost fell into the trap early on after losing the second round. I didn't share any of my games with you guys because I never like showing off my games, and I don't like looking at my losses, and I don't like bragging about my wins. So like, the only games I can never show people are my draws. Okay, let's see this game from Paris. Paris 1899. What was the weird move I saw recently here? Was there a game at the tournament? Oh, Dlugi had a game in Dlugi had a game in the main line with Nadanian, right? Nadanian was white against Dlugi, and knight takes c6. Oh, right. Yeah, Dlugi killed him. But it was weird because Nadanian, or Nadanyan, I don't know how you say it. Nadanyan, he's a nice guy. He missed this really obvious move that would have saved him. It was kind of sad. He was a little out of form. I mean, Dlugi's a tough opponent, but he wasn't playing that well at this tournament. To be honest, by the end he was playing better, but you could see that Dlugi was really out of practice. All right. So knight on cb5. Now bishop b4 is the safest. Black plays d6, and now we transpose to Sveshnikov. Bishop f4, e5, or Lasker Pelican if you prefer. By the way, where's Mr. Slow? He's been like. He must have been depressed that I didn't win a medal in the World Senior. He's never going to come to my stream anymore. I feel kind of bad. We let him down. So now, knight a3, and black played bishop e7. Okay, that's like an Arsenal fan move. I think Arsenal fan played that against me once. What is bishop e7? You know, this is a famous variation, right? The bishop e6 that Larson used to play. That's actually something that black should consider against inexperienced players who don't they learn main lines, but they don't learn the side variations. Bishop e6 is a good move for people to try to catch unprepared opponents, incompletely prepared opponents off. But bishop e7, what is that? So there's a Sevian game here from 2019. Sevian. It's like Evian. Shaba played it. But who knows what that is? Some blitz game from the Internet Chess Club? And that's it. Mikhail Krasenkov played it in. It's weird, man. I mean, I don't really get this. Is this like people who don't play the Sveshnikov just like getting confused and playing bishop e7? Like, what is that move? That's not normal. So white plays bishop takes f6 now, but it looks like knight c4 is clearly better. Fallujah. Well, I mean, it's the same premise as the bishop e6 line. So bishop takes f6. More of a concession. I feel like Arsenal fan did like this against me. Wow, it's been played. Phew, dude, this is ugly for black. Let me see if I have a game here. Acerbate does not. Shockingly, right? Alright, Mr. Me. No, it was a different position. I've actually never had a game on the site in this. It was a different position somehow. No, this is weird. Alright, black plays bishop e7. You take unprovoked. It's kind of strange. Bishop takes f6, knight c4, now attacking the pawn. But now black goes back. I don't think king e7 is an option. You have to go back. And then knight d5. But I mean, at the end of the day, is white necessarily that much better? This unprovoked exchange on f6, just not quite the best. And now black plays a really strange move, knight a5. I mean, you are aware, like, black should be aware here that we can play like knight to b6. That knight on a5 is horrendous. You know, what is that knight on a5 going to do? It's going to really have to come back directly to c6. Knight e5 is a strange move, man. I mean, to play that, really weird. I mean, black's already like far behind, you know, a little bit in terms of control of the center. I don't think, like, you know, knight a5 is a good idea here. This is still not a bad move, though. It's not as good as knight b6, but it's not as forcing anyway, but it's not a bad move. I think the problem is that black will trade off bad bishop at some point. Yeah, but I mean, this is really okay, fine, you know, but can we develop our pieces? The knight on a5 is bad. Knight f5, okay. You're still better. He practically has to take. White's still a little better. There are some complications, though. I mean, the fact that white's king, I don't like the fact that white's king is still in the middle of the board. Ops color bishops, classic Sveshnikov. White's still better, but not that much. Rook c8. Wouldn't be my first choice. What is black supposed to do here? Maybe put the bishop on g5? Can we get the bishop to g5? Like h4? You do the classic, like bishop f4? Maybe that induces g3. Maybe that's even a good move for white. So maybe it's better to just go bishop h6. I was wondering about f6. Is that a thing? I mean, generally you don't want to do this because he can go bishop f4, you know. Oops, wrong chat. 110, 180. What is that? We're talking about pixels or body weight. Alright, rook c8 doesn't do a lot. I think that black is... you know, on the surface looks like they're trying to play knight c4, but you don't want to do that. Why is rook c8 so good? And then this. e4, anyone? Here. Okay. So this isn't doing much. This isn't doing much. I mean, I think black should have played bishop h6, bishop g5. White should play c3. Now he does h6. Okay, that can't be a good move. h6. You're already out on the white squares weak here with black. I mean, if anything, you want to play like g6, probably, not h6. I mean, it's obviously complicated, but white is better. But h6 really weakens our white squares. This looks worse. This is a good move. c3 is a good move. So now this diagonal is bordering on like fatal. No? After knight d5, I think black is either dropping a pawn, or risking king e7. So knight a5 was a good chance. Going back to that position where he played knight a5, well, I mean, okay. Dropping a pawn is dropping a pawn. I mean, but risking king e7 may not be that big a deal. I don't know. I mean, it may be that like king e7 isn't really that bad for black. Some sort of situation where you allow king e7. It's not the end of the world. I mean, it is our bad bishop, so if white gives up a powerful knight for the bad bishop, maybe not the worst thing in the world. I mean, when black played like knight a5, apparently the best move was bishop e6. So now there's like knight takes e7. There's a bunch of games here, shockingly. Kirill Shevchenko, that name sounds familiar. Well, you can sit on him with like this. c3 is just a safe move. Clearly white is better. Oh, Hannes Stephenson against Rovid Kalman. This is our friend Hannes playing in 1995 against Hungarian FM, who's quite up there now. He's probably like around 70. It's funny. Alright. So anyways, back to the game. Onward. Now white has a really serious chance on this diagonal. It looks bad. The queen is coming in. Black has no counterplay. Black's only hope here is to trade pieces as quickly and as efficiently as possible. I would be like trading knights. Can I play knight e7? What's he gonna do? Bishop g5, g3, h4. Okay, now white plays bishop e4, but that seems slow. I wanted to go here. Even h4. Yeah, it's pretty quick. So white just has to settle for a slight edge. And then he didn't want to trade pieces. I remember Nick DeFermian used to always have these games, this one FIDE master, Gregory Markson. They had a number of games like US tournaments and open tournaments, and every time it was the same thing, you know. DeFermian torturing this guy. The guy insisted on playing the Sveshnikov. Every time Nick would like torture him in some kind of ops color bishop with all the pieces on the board thing, you know, and the guy would always lose like every single time. You don't necessarily have to avoid exchanging knights to win. with white. White is massively better in this ups color bishop position. But you definitely don't want to allow black to play d5. So this is a pretty weird move. I mean, what happens if, like, you move the knight again and black plays d5? I mean, you're just losing control of the center. It's pretty strange. I mean, I guess maybe we're trying to induce black to play a5 and then go back and say that, okay, now he's weakened his white squares. Like, worse, maybe. That would be my judgment anyway. Like, the only benefit of this really is that trying to get black to play a5 if possible. He doesn't have to do that though. So knight b4 here. Black plays a good move there. Doesn't get tricked into playing I think queen d7 was probably the best move. He doesn't get tricked into playing a5. And then queen f3. Yeah, white's really playing well here. Clamping down. Queen f3, rook c4, and then g3. g3, a very natural move. Now does black have an exchange sack? Or some kind of tactic? Suddenly there are tactics all over the place. Tactics du jour, like take d5, sacking the exchange that way. There's this exchange sack, going for this pawn. I mean, this probably isn't enough. This one looks better. Rook takes b4. Rook takes b4, c takes b4, d5. And now, well, I mean, you know, most people are gonna move the bishop, I would assume. Bishop c2 or something. But the pawns are rolling now, and black has some kind of active play. So, okay, he didn't find that. It's a tough exchange sack to play. I mean, it's like do or die for black here. A lot of strong players are going to fail to find this. On the other hand, like, white is threatening bishop takes b7. And because of that, at the end of the day, you know, the exchange sack isn't that hard to find because, like, well, what are you going to play? Rook b8? Things just keep getting worse here. It looks like, okay, a lot of people would have played rook b8 and not sacked the exchange, but it's a good chance to try to get some counterplay. a5, that's the mistake we talked about earlier. Weakening the white square is worse. And already white had a big advantage. Here, and I don't know, maybe a4 at some point. Maybe now. I guess if a4, black has b5, this could get kind of weird. Black trades pawns. Wait a second now. What about b7? He has rook b8. No, I don't know. I sounded like a chicken. A rook b8. No, I don't know. I'm getting tired. Anyway, here. See, on b5, yeah, b5 trading pawns off. It's DeFermi and Markson. h4. Oh, you just have to look up some DeFermi and Markson games in like Chess Base or something. It was, I'm sure there's stronger players you could find, but it was the same routine every time. h6 is like fatal. White played very subtly and very well in this game. King g2, rook d8, rook h1. Yeah, like a master. Maybe some tactical mistakes, but the strategic concept is very good. g4, g5, if we can get it. You could play like queen h5 followed by g4, g5. Fatal. Game over. That's all you need to do now. The computer's saying queen e4. How about here? Tying black down to f7. There's no king h7. And then we have g4, g5 coming. The queen would get trapped. Wouldn't this be sick? Imagine like black finds a move. That would be really sick. Imagine this was your game and you're planning g4, g5, and now you're winning with g4, g5, except when you play g4, let's say black makes a waiting move, I don't know, whatever, a4, you do g4, and now it's like boom, boom. No, he needs king h7. He needs king h7. How's he going to get king h7 in? Okay, we need to play rook f8 then. Rook f8. And now if you play g4, we play king h7. And the trick was, no, this is winning. We're winning. There is no trick. The trick is that there is no trick. How is this ever going to happen? It's just never going to happen. How can I make it happen? Like our queen gets trapped. Rook f8. White has to stall for one more move. Let's see. a3, king h7, g4, and then takes. It's really hard to get your queen trapped. But not impossible. That's your security code? Oh no. Was that your login for your Bitcoin account? Alright, anyway, I'm kind of losing it, guys. Rook b8, queen e4. I didn't eat dinner. c4. And the g4, g5 should be decisive. Maybe black's king would be safer on a7 at this point. I was thinking rook d3 followed by g4. But we need to play something to protect this pawn on h4. Yeah, he found it. See, he found it. Magnetic. It's magnetic. Now rook h3. Obviously, there's no need for that. There's this, and if g6, our queen isn't trapped. But after rook takes d5, it is. Oh man, that would hurt. That's what I was trying to show you guys before. I found the way to do it. Oh my god. So, we need to play like bishop e4 at some point. Here, here, here. Uh-oh. Yeah, it would be better to play bishop e4, but our c-pawn's hanging. So instead of rook h3, we need to play like b3. Maybe b3. b3. Idea bishop e4. I don't know about this, though. Is e4 necessarily good for black? Do we have time for g4? Then our queen is trapped. The magic queen trap. This is not necessarily decisive. At least black has some counterplay now on the dark squares. No, there's some dark squares that are weak in the position. It's a very complicated game. Made in 5. I don't know. What's the final analysis of this game? White played like a really high level game. Now I don't know who the FIDE master is in this game and who I don't know. It says a game against a Greek FIDE master. Who's the FIDE master? That's what I'm wondering. White played very, very well. Alright guys, I'm out. It was nice knowing you. Move 11, don't forget to send in your security code. And thanks everyone for your support, for the subscribers. We're back to regular schedule. And We appreciate all donations toward Golden Beer, Golden Bears. UCLA Golden Bears. Anyway, yeah, good games. I'm kind of like having like a sugar shortage or something. I didn't eat proper dinner yet, so I'm losing my energy pretty quickly here. I usually fade after about 3 hours of analysis, generally speaking. So I started at 6:45, and we're at 10 now. So I'm over my 3-hour quota. 3-hour analysis. Then we need a break. I think that's a good way, a good place to set the limit. I will see everybody tomorrow, hopefully, especially those of you who don't have, jobs. We have more followers who don't have jobs. It's not very profitable, but we do have a very faithful following from the unemployed community. Thanks, Nedog, for being one of our only employed viewers, along with Nefidov and Move 11. I know it's hard for you guys to get here who have jobs like Antonio, and I do appreciate it. So you guys, good games. Friday, rapid challenge stream tomorrow, probably like 5+3, and we'll just take the comers as we get them. Thanks everybody again. Enjoyed analysis with you guys. Have a great night, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.